Have you ever walked into someone's home and even though everything seemed tidy, felt something in the air that weighs heavy? It is not visible mess. It is not dirt. It is something else. A kind of exhaustion that lives in the walls. Now think of the opposite. Have you ever entered a space and felt as if you could breathe better? As if silence had texture? As if even emptiness had something to say? Well, that second type of home is not by chance, and it does not require money to exist. There is a brutal difference between a clean home and a refined home, and that difference lives precisely where most people never look, in the space between things, in the intention behind each object, in the silence that remains when you stop accumulating and start choosing. I could start this video by saying that in Japan, homes are small, so people need to be minimalist out of necessity. But that is not it. I have seen enormous homes where every inch breathed with intention, and I have seen tiny apartments cluttered to the ceiling. Therefore, it is not about physical space. It is about mental space. It is about what you allow to enter, and what you have the courage to let go. Today I will share 3 lessons I learned in Japan. Not from experts, not from expensive books, but by observing how people lived. 3 principles so simple they seem obvious, but so powerful they transform not only the home, but the way you inhabit your own life. And before I forget, if you are here because you want to learn to live with more lightness, elegance, and less visual noise, subscribe to the Charming Minimalist channel, turn on the bell, and leave that like. It helps me continue bringing this type of content to you. Lesson number 1, refusing before discarding. The first lesson is the most difficult, and the one nobody talks about. Everyone wants to learn to get rid of things. To do that brutal cleaning session, fill donation bags, feel the relief of seeing empty closets, but nobody talks about what happens after. 3 months pass and the closets overflow again. The kitchen drawer will not close anymore. The living room table became a deposit for mail and purchases you do not even remember making. The problem is not discarding. The problem is not knowing how to refuse. In Japan, there is a concept called danshari. The word is formed by 3 ideograms: dan, which means to refuse; sha, which means to discard; and rai, which means to separate from attachment. Notice the order. Refusing comes first. Because if you do not learn to say no at the entrance, you will spend the rest of your life trying to expel things through the exit. I learned this in the most embarrassing way possible. It was in 2009, right after the financial crisis that took everything from me. I had just stabilized myself again here in Los Angeles, in the Torrance neighborhood, and a friend of mine invited me for tea at her house. The house was beautiful, modern, spacious, full of light, but when she opened the closet to show me a piece she had bought, I almost lost my balance. There were piles and piles of clothes with tags still on, bags piled on the floor, shoes she could not even reach. She looked at me and said, almost apologetically, "I know I need to clean this out. But every time I start, I get exhausted. I donate some things, but soon I am buying again. It is as if I never have enough." I did not say anything at that moment, but that stayed in my head for weeks. Because I recognized there's something I myself had lived before going to Japan for the first time. The feeling that acquiring things filled some emptiness. But it did not fill it. It only increased the noise. The truth is that most people do not have an organization problem. They have a permission problem. They allow everything to enter. Store freebies, free samples, gifts they did not ask for, clothes on sale, cute objects that cost little. And then the home becomes a museum of maybe. Maybe I will use it. Maybe I will need it. Maybe someone will want it. But here is the secret that changed my life. You do not need everything that is offered to you. Refusing is not rudeness. It is self-care. Start today. The next time someone offers you something, a flyer, a paper bag, an event freebie, ask yourself, do I need this? If the answer is no, smile and say, thank you, but I will not need it. Simple as that. You will feel strange the first few times, but then you will realize you are protecting your home and your peace. Refusing is the first act of elegance, because true luxury is not having access to everything. It is having criteria to choose what enters. Lesson number 2. Empty space has a function. The second lesson goes against everything we were taught about decoration. We grew up hearing that every corner of the home needs to have something. A pillow here, a little picture there, a little vase over there. And the more filled, the more welcoming, more beautiful, more complete. False. In Japan, there is a concept called ma. It has no direct translation, but the idea is simple. Empty space is not absence. It is presence. The space between things has as much value as the things themselves. It is the interval that gives meaning to the note, the silence that makes the word powerful, the pause that lets you breathe. When I lived in Kyoto in the 1980s, the home of my grandmother Akiko had a tea room that never left my memory. It was a small space, with tatami on the floor and a single window that looked out to a Zen garden. In that room, there were only 3 things: a ceramic vase with a dry cherry branch, a calligraphy scroll hanging on the wall, and the low table where she served tea. I remember asking, still as a child, why she did not put more things there. After all, the room seemed empty to me, accustomed to the home full of objects from my parents here in Los Angeles. She looked at me with that serene way of hers and said, "Naomi, if I fill this space with things, where will you put your thoughts?" It took me years to understand what she meant. Empty space is not waste. It is an invitation for you to enter, for your mind to rest, for your eyes to find a place to land without being attacked by stimuli. Here is an uncomfortable truth. If your home is too full, you are not living in it. It is living in you, occupying mental space, creating visual noise, draining your energy every time you need to look for something, clean something, decide something. I will give you a practical exercise that changed the lives of several of my clients. Choose a surface in your home. It can be the kitchen counter, the nightstand, the coffee table, the living room shelf. Remove everything that is there. Everything. Now look at that empty space. Breathe deeply. Feel the lightness. Then return only 3 objects, no more than that, and choose carefully. 1 object per function, beauty or meaning. Nothing that is there just because. The rest? Store, donate, or discard. You will notice something strange. That little corner will start to breathe, and so will you. But be careful. Some people confuse minimalism with coldness. They think less is synonymous with soulless. It is not. What we are doing here is not emptying the home. It is giving space for what really matters to shine. It is like when you clean the lens of a camera. The landscape was always there. You just removed what was blocking the view. One of the stories that marked me most happened with a client. She called me to help her organize the home office. When I arrived, the desk was covered with papers, pens, sticky notes, picture frames, plants, stacked books, empty cups. She told me, "I work here every day, but I feel exhausted just sitting down." We did the exercise. We removed everything. We returned only the laptop, a notebook, a pen, and a small succulent in a white ceramic pot. When she sat down again, she started crying, not from sadness, from relief. She said, "I did not know that this was what was suffocating me." Empty space has a function. It calms, it welcomes, it lets you be. Lesson number 3. Every object is a commitment. The third lesson is the most radical, and the one that fewer people have the courage to accept. Every object you own is not just a thing occupying space. It is a commitment of time to clean it, of energy to organize it, of attention to remember it exists, of money to maintain it or replace it when it breaks. Deep down, you do not have things. Things have you. This became clear to me when I returned from Japan in 1992. I brought only 2 suitcases. 2. And inside them there was only the essential. Some clothes, books I could not leave behind, a box of tea that my grandmother gave me, and 3 ceramic bowls I bought in Tokyo. That was all I wanted to bring, because everything I did not bring was something I would not have to care for. And you know what happened? I felt free. Freer than when I lived in a home full of inherited furniture, decorative objects, and clothes I did not even remember buying. Here is the problem. American culture celebrates abundance. The more, the better. Full refrigerator is a sign of plenty. Packed closet is a sign of success. Big house is a sign of victory. And so we spend our entire lives accumulating, buying, storing, and drowning in the weight of it all. But in Japan, I learned the opposite. Less is not poverty. Less is freedom. Less is dignity. Less is respect for your own time. I will ask you an honest question. How many pieces of clothing do you have hanging in the closet that you have not worn in over a year? How many plastic containers stacked without lids? How many electronic cables that you do not even know where they came from anymore? How many books you will not reread? How many gifts you never liked but kept out of politeness? Now tell me, why are you carrying all this? Who benefits? Certainly not you. I have a rule that I learned from a Japanese organizing philosophy. It says the following: if an object is not being used, it is sad. It sounds silly, but it makes perfect sense. A beautiful coat stored for years in the back of the closet is serving no one. An expensive pan you never use is wasting its potential. A book without being read is dying of loneliness. And you, who keep them there, are carrying the weight of guilt. Guilt for not using, guilt for having bought, guilt for spending money, guilt for not letting go. But here is the liberating truth. You owe nothing to these objects. They already fulfilled their function the moment they were acquired. Now, they need to move on. And so do you. One of the most touching stories I lived was with my own son, Kenji. When he was about 12 years old, his room was packed with toys. Cars, action figures, games, Lego pieces scattered. And he, in the middle of all that, always complaining he was bored. One day, I sat with him and said, "Let us do an experiment. Choose only 5 toys you really love. The others, we will store for a month. If you miss them, we will bring them back." Do you know how many he asked back? None. And do you know what he told me at the end of the month? "Mom, I can play better this way." Before, I did not know what to play with. Children know, we are the ones who forgot. So here is the invitation. Look around your home today and choose one object, just one, that you know should not be there anymore. It can be a piece of clothing, a book, a utensil, a keepsake. Take that object, thank it for what it represented, and let it go. Donate, sell, discard, but free it. And see how, by freeing an object, you free a piece of yourself. These 3 lessons, refusing before discarding, empty space has a function, and every object is a commitment, are not just about organization. They are about regaining control of your own life, about stopping living on autopilot, accumulating without thinking, and starting to choose with intention. Because in the end, a refined home is not one that has the most expensive pieces or the trendiest decoration. A refined home is one where every object has a reason, where every space breathes, where you enter and feel you are at home, truly. And that does not require money. It does not require noise. It does not require clutter. It requires only courage. Courage to refuse. Courage to empty. Courage to let go. Now tell me something. Of these 3 lessons, which one touched you most deeply? Write it here in the comments. And if you liked the video, leave a phrase of up to 6 words that summarizes what you learned. Something like, fewer objects, more inner peace, or emptiness is also a form of beauty. I want to know what stayed with you, because in the end, refinement is not about what you have, it is about what you choose. And every choice begins with a no. A hug full of lightness to you, and until the next video.